Neda Soltani, member of the World Liberty Congress Leadership Council. Neda, thank you very much for being with us. What I've been doing over the last several days as we've been tracking this Iran story is to actually go through some of the key points. And I thought I would do that today as well, get your answers to some basic questions. So first up, what are you hearing about the current estimated death toll from the crackdown on protesters? Because there are numbers by activists and those fighting, and then the government says something else. What do you believe to be the truth?
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate raising awareness on the case of Iranian civilians who are protesting for their basic human rights of dignity and freedom. Unfortunately, the death toll is much higher than even us who knew imagined it to be. Late last night, we received a credible report that has now been also authenticated by Shirin Ebadi, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate,
yes,
that the death toll now has arrived to 12,000 people. These 12,000 people were alone massacred in a time span of 48 hours.
12,000 is what you're saying. That's stupendous. That's extremely, extremely high. But I mean, Shirin Ebadi, somebody I've spoken to, interviewed in the past as an extraordinary woman and leader and a credible source, she says yes, 12,000 people have been killed across the country.
Correct. And she also says, and also Masih Alinejad, who's a very well-known human rights and women's rights advocate, has also confirmed that even for Iranian regime standards, for the Mullah regime standards, this number is unprecedented. Killing 12,000 civilians, unarmed civilians, in a time span of 48 hours.
Okay. My next question to you, and we'll come back to that tragic news that you are sharing with us. How effective have the regime's measures, internet blackouts, curfews, shoot-to-kill orders, have these at all been successful in taking the crowds away? Or are people defying this still?
It is understandable that when the security forces start shooting into crowds indiscriminately with military-grade weapons, it scares every living human being.
Yes, of course.
However, the protests have not stopped. This is an uprising that is still continuing, perhaps not as widespread as for 2 days where there were calls for strike and protest, but it definitely is continuing. We saw videos again in several cities, including the capital, Tehran, but also cities in the south and in the northwest of the country where protests were still ongoing.
Neda, is it your belief that if there is to be a regime change, a true revolution may be already happening, excuse me, it may not happen immediately, that this could be an internal uprising, a revolution, which could in fact last months before we see the change that you're talking about?
Well, of course, we all know that revolutions are marathons and not sprints. However, what we also know is that the regime has been extremely weakened and deteriorated. It has lost all its proxies in the region, that it spent years and years of the riches of the people of Iran on strengthening them. They are non-existent. And then during the last 12-day war, last June 2025, top military and IRGC personnel, the thinking heads of the regime's political and military organization have been eliminated. So the regime is also extremely weakened, and that can be the tipping point. Whether it happens tomorrow or whether it happens in a month or in a year is really something that I do not believe anybody can answer. Yep. And it very much depends on the protests in Iran.